In this short video, we're going to talk about creating kind of a quick calculator that will take some sort of user input and then calculate how long it would take, and we're going to use the data about tech CEOs. Tech CEOs to make in time a person's annual salary. There's websites, those are linked over here, and then below, simple texting, tech CEOs, kind of trending websites that are kind of working as functional calculators. We're going to be able to do that very easily. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our import HTML. This function, import HTML, takes some sort of web table, web list, and in this case it's pulling from Wikipedia, and I can use a table to then make a spreadsheet and then calculate things based on that. In our case, we're going to use this tab, Tech CEOs, and that link is available right here, M2. So if I copy that, come over to my new sheet, you have your own blank sheet, import HTML. What do I want? I want that link. And what do I want on that link? A table. And there's only one table on it, so you can just hit one. It's going to take a second, and then you'll see some information presented. Excellent. So then if you look at the example, so again, that's our data. I've got the information about the name of a billionaire, where are they working, what was their, this is actually not their salary, this is their net worth. So this is not, this table is kind of not exactly what we're building. We're building based on annual salaries. So we're going to use next thing is a VLOOKUP. So I've got my import. That looks good. H2. We talked about this in class, that in this example, again, yours is a little bit different because if we look at the values, we've got raw numbers. We see that it's numbers, they're right aligned. In this, we have left aligned information because we also have text built in. So the way that I did that was by using the find function, find where there's a space. In this case, it's right before the B, and take everything to the left of that and then convert that into a value. The value function takes text that is understood as a number, so it can't have letters in it, but if it's understood as a number and converts it into a number, presents it as a number, which you could then multiply, divide, and do all those things through. Okay, so find left value. I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I would like to do is I would like to take this information, billionaire, we'll get their name, where do they work, what did they make, and then we'll do some division. Come over here. Great. And now I'm going to make a data, I'm going to actually scoot it over a little bit closer. Great. Now I'm going to make a data validation. So the way to do that, and data validation you should just think of as a dropdown, right? Data validation can be information from a range. It could be a set number of items. So I want to do the, Democratic Party. I'm going to say Democrat, Republican, or political parties, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, whatever those might be from the choice of set number of choices, right? If I'm making a spreadsheet that is about how am I spending money, this is grocery items, this is a some sort of retail purchase, this is car payments, whatever those things would be, I could set those as my list of items that might not be in my data somewhere else. What is a specific set of number? I want to choose from drop downs out of 0 to 10. I could create those numbers. In this case, we're going to select from a range, and I'm going to select just their names. Okay, and say save. And so now when I come over here, I see the names, I see I can drop down. Yay, success. So next thing I want to do is I want to, and I'll go back to Jeff Bezos just so we know who we're working with. The company is a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to do a VLOOKUP of my data. And before that, I actually need to reference my key, which is the cell above, I2, comma. Great. And what do I want over? I want just their company, which is my second column. and this data is not sorted. False. Great. So VLOOKUP, and I'm going to zoom in on this. So we go to what is the cell I'm referencing? Out of what range? What column am I trying to get data from? And then false. I'm going to do the same thing. Grab that information, but now I want the third column over, which is their wealth. Great. As I change this, I see the information changing. Let's pick someone else we know. Elon Musk, Tesla. Mark Zuckerberg. It's Facebook. Great. So now let's do our calculations below. Taking this value above, divide that by number of days, 365. Tells us how much money he makes each day. Take that number, divide that by number of hours, 24. Tells us how much he makes hourly. Divide that by 60. Tells us how much he made, this again for 2019, how much he made per minute. And then take that value, divide that by 60, tells us how much he made per second. All right. And as we change these values, right, you should see that these numbers are also changing. And we could, because again, these are numerical values, we could just show it in a numerical presentation. Or sorry, currency. Okay. So that's great, and that's getting a lot of what we needed. Now I'm ready to get the part where I take some user input and get some calculations based on that. So I'm going to go back to my example where I'm going to take some user input. And again, the website showed user input, or showed their annual salary, or how much they still had payment on a car loan or on a house loan, whatever that, it doesn't really matter because it's going to be doing the same amount of divisions. It's just going to be what is that information you're trying to get from, as a reference. All right, so the next thing we did was how much is that in days? And so I'm going to paste this over here so it looks something like this. Okay. So how do I do that? I'm going to do, the amount that they made per day. Sorry, how much, this is my value that I'm giving this, my user input over how much they made per day. And this is no longer a I'm going to take this into a number because it's not a currency. Right? So this person who made, with IBM, they made $16 million last year. That takes them 1.78 days to make that much money. It would take them 1.78 days to make this $80,000 example salary. So again, I also showed in class the starting base pay for a teacher in Carborough City Schools, $40,000, less than a day. If I want to, because this reference, if I look at where this is referencing, right, this is taking the value that I have in my user input, and I'm going to just want to drag this through. I'm going to keep this H11 rather, and I'm going to put a $sign there so that it stays as an absolute reference. And I'm going to drag that through. It'll take them 77,000 seconds to make our salary. Okay. And from here, we presented with like a max from this range. Obviously, your max is always going to be seconds. And did another VLOOKUP. Using that as our key with our range, true and false. Should give us the word seconds. Great. So again, our max. If I change this number, let's say I make 120,000. It took them 2.6 days to make 126,000. And I can kind of play with this as a calculator. Again, your values between these different people. And then your user input and how much time these things are occurring. So you kind of can play with it as you go through. Who are you picking in the same way that these websites are doing that, and then your user input, and then what is the return from there. All right. Good luck. Thanks.